How dare you?
Hold on. Anyway, well, but here it is now. We started now. Welcome to the LFC Daytrippers, and this is Winners and Losers. With just me and Phil, because Keith got held up with work. Everyone can hear us now, Phil. I don't know what happened there. That is probably my fault, but I'm not going to take all of the.
Can they hear us now?
You know, yeah, they can
Can
definitely
you hear me?
us now. They can definitely hear us now. Oh,
And they're all
100%.
saying no sound.
They're
all saying no sound.
They're a few seconds behind. Someone's going to come in now and say, "Yeah, there's
You
sound."
sure?
Yeah. Watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds okay now. Samuel Messe says better with no sound. I agree. I absolutely
Yeah,
agree.
I've used up my gag now, so I can't use it. Like it just does. I can't do a gag a second time around. I have to find a new. Hang on, I have to find a new one. No, there's none down there. I have to come back to it.
Anyway, here is what is going on. Me and Phil did pick a winner and loser each. Keith was meant to host, got held up on work, so me and Phil are going to do it together. Now, Phil has informed me that last week he done 180 seconds at the end of all the winners and losers we didn't mention, or they didn't mention last week. And he said to me, will we do it this week? I went, yeah. And he went, it might be tough with two. And I went, why? And he goes, well, it was kind of 60 seconds each last week. And I was like, yeah, but just divided by two, Phil. We both have 90 seconds each. He was like, oh yeah, that's cool, yeah. And then he went, it'd be really difficult with four though, and I went, it'd be 45 seconds each, Phil. And then we got to 5 and we realised 5 might be difficult.
No, it was designed for 60 seconds each, Gav, and you'll reckon it now. It's like there's two people on it, because like I'm confused. I don't know who's hosting here. Like, we just both hosting?
We'll both do it. We'll both do it.
All right. Right.
But anyway,
it's an international week, so nobody cares. There's nobody even listening tonight.
And I don't even know how it happened at the start either. Anyway, I'm going to go first. Is that okay?
Yeah, what do you think? I'm growing my beard because it's a race week, so I'm growing my race beard.
Right. When did you start?
For Aero Gains last night.
Last night? Okay. Yeah. You're doing very well.
It'll be grown, but well, no, do you see, you've got the same problem I have now. Do you see that grey that's coming in? Right? And what's driving me mad is I just happened to mention to my other half, who should remain nameless, but I said to her, this thing now, I said, I love my beard. And she goes, I don't. Well, I said, I do. I said, but like, it's getting a bit grey. Every time I grow it gets greyer and greyer. And then Instagram is listening. It keeps sending me all these products now. Like beard colour or whatever it's called, beard dye. So I think I might be investing in a bit of beard dye before the Christmas time, or else I'll be getting a job Santa Claus just to keep me ticking over for the whole of the season.
Yeah, so I've jet black hair, but there is grey going like on everywhere now. Like when you get your hair cut down the sides, like it's grey everywhere now. And
I've solved that.
I've kind of ignored it. I've just kind of ignored it and went, look, it's not really there. I'm just in complete denial. But look, I'm 41 odd years of age, so it's all right. It's great. It's fine. So I'm going to go first with a loser, if that's okay. I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandes. And here's the reason behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I watched Arsenal against United yesterday, okay? Watched it. Decent game. Quality wasn't brilliant in it, but it was a good game to watch. And Bruno Fernandes there was two things in it. First of all, Harry Maguire come on and nobody wanted to pass the ball to him. It was hilarious, right? But the second thing is Bruno Fernandes is the captain of Manchester United, right? And we've seen stuff after the game, Ten Hag mentioning Sancho online saying, he basically calling Ten Hag a lawyer and stuff like that. And I was kind of going, what are all these people up to? And then I just thought about Bruno Fernandes and his performance yesterday. Honestly, right, I think he's a really, really, really good footballer, right? Mm-hmm. But he spends more time, and this is genuine, he spends more time looking for free kicks and yellow cards for the opposition than actually playing the game of football. And I don't, he went over to take a corner yesterday, and they were all like, Bruno, and I was like, how can you get behind this fella? He's like, his main contribution in games is falling over and shouting at referees. That's what he's actually got to now as the captain of Manchester United. And when they needed someone yesterday to rally them when their legs were going a bit, he was still running around and then just falling over and stuff like that. Like, can you actually believe he's captain of Manchester United?
Yeah, I can. I think it's symptomatic of everything they've become, right? As I said, I think we struggle because we're all damaged by the Ferguson era for 1990 to 2010 or 2011 or whatever it was, right? I think you and me, that's our age group, and that's what we have this thing in our head. I was fortunate enough to grow up and see great Liverpool sides, and then see it get all washed away by him being there. But like, he's emblematic of everything they've become, right? Potential, unfulfilled potential, a lot of gesturing. Looks like he should be something that would have been in a Ferguson team that would have been amazing and thing. But in reality, it's just a show pony on a different day. Just a show pony there, Bill. Don't really know what's going on with the fella at all. He's just not a good footballer, right?
But he is a good footballer.
No, he's a good technical footballer, right? But he's just not. When I say a good footballer, I'm now conditioned to looking at these brilliant robots that Guardiola has coached, that Klopp has coached, right? The great teams we've seen in England over that. Even look at what Arteta has done with some of the players at Arsenal over the last 2 to 3 years to get them to a point where they are. Those teams that have been elevated to a much better game, like, they are footballers. They're modern day footballers. What's left is this idea of, and it's this mad, and it really is only Chelsea and United at the moment are guilty of this, is still living in the FIFA mindset of, we'll just buy loads of really great players and eventually it'll click, right? It just doesn't work anymore, because all teams are so tactically set up to be able to offset the differences in talent level to a certain respect in the league situations, no matter what league you're in. And the talent level they have is no longer tiers above everyone else in the league, right? So it's not there anymore. It's just not at the top. Like, they aren't the PSG where they're so far above everyone else, or a Bayern Munich who are so far above absolutely everyone else, right, in their league, that they can just afford to sign all the best lads, and they'll just keep winning and just keep turning over. You know what I mean? But those teams always fail them when they get to the biggest stage against the teams that have been, not only have the good lads, but also have the tactically astute, brilliant managers that are behind them as well. So when you look at it, as I said, Bruno is a perfect captain for Manchester United, because he is completely emblematic of what United as a football club has become. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. But what and maybe him being captain is a knock-on effect of what the club is at the moment. Like, when you think about it, like, you know, you talked about the era we grow up in, and we grow up in an era where, like, I kind of, mid 80s I can remember. And then as soon as the Premier League hits, you just take off like a train, right? And, it absolutely, puts everything else in the background, really, when you think of 92 right up to 2012. Do you know what I mean? When they win the last 14, when they win the last title. And maybe the mayhem that's going on at that club is, and a result of that is, this guy is the captain. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're going around, they're right on the line with FFP. They're trying to, they can't buy someone unless they sell someone, and that was never Manchester United. They just bought, and then they deal with it afterwards. But I'm looking at that yesterday, and I think United knew their level yesterday. They couldn't go toe to toe with Arsenal, so they sat in and they tried to be good off the ball and tried to hit them on the break, and that's absolutely fine, because I think United, in fairness, sometimes do come out and try to play better teams and get absolutely slaughtered. But when I'm watching the day yesterday, it's going into 80, 85, 90 minutes. It ends up being 100 minutes in the end. And this guy, they've lost centre-halves. Now, I know he can't go and play centre-half, but you could see, like, Casemiro was out on his feet, because he's literally trying to man in midfield here, while Bruno Fernandes tears around the place, throwing himself on the fucking ground and just gesturing at the referee. And I'm like, this is the fucking captain. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind if Casemiro was the captain and he's doing his best, and this fella just happens to be a really good technical footballer, and you just kind of have to live with this bullshit that he comes out with. But he's the captain, Phil. And when they come off the pitch yesterday, Ten Hag, I don't know if he's under pressure or not. I think the whole Glazers thing will push the pressure away from him for a long time. But in that game, you want your captain to stand up and get the troops going. Make sure they're all in position. Like, that young striker comes on, help him out. But there was none of that from Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is like his own sideshow to a football game. He's like the evil villain, or the slapstick kind of guy in a TV series. It's absolutely mad to watch, and I don't know how United fans, maybe they're reprogrammed now into this is what we are. But that captain going out on the pitch and just literally being a character, his own character in this whole production is fucking mad, Phil. It's mad, and I don't know how they're not infuriated by it.
But it's everyone else's fault, Gav. Like from the top level down, right, in that club, it's everyone else's fault. And even to the manager, it's everyone else's fault. The lack of responsibility that now exists there, which didn't exist when Ferguson was there. The responsibility was on each and every player, and the players knew it, and they had to perform to a certain level. So even when he didn't have the talent that he had, say in the mid-noughties, mid-90s in terms of the squads he had, they all took responsibility for their actions on the pitch and to deliver results. No, there's no responsibility to that club. You see Ten Hag blaming everyone for not performing on the pitch, right? You see their media puppets like Gary Neville and stuff blaming the owners for the circus that exists around the club. It's the stadium has fallen down. It's get your scarves out. It's we didn't get enough results. Let's have a protest. And the answer to it now is to spend more money, despite them being the second biggest spenders in the league this in the summertime. So they haven't spent enough money, but they spent more money than nearly everyone else. It's the players' fault. The manager's not at fault. It's VAR's fault. It's where they draw the lines in VAR's fault. It's the referee's fault. Didn't see the free kicks. It is absolutely everyone else's fault, bar those people themselves. So nobody's taking account. No one takes any accountability or responsibility for the results that they are creating, and only they can generate those results. The one thing that's been hard to watch as a Liverpool fan for over last year when we didn't achieve it was there was an acceptance as to what they weren't blaming. It wasn't VAR's fault. It wasn't the fixture backlog's fault. It wasn't the fact that they got the 60 plus there, right? Like ultimately, I think again they're trapped in this cycle. It's a bit like in American football, you have these teams that are trapped in middle mediocrity. They're never bad enough to get the top picks. They're never good enough to win the actual thing or challenge, right? They're a bit trapped in this cycle now where they've never been good enough to win the top end again. They're not going to be bad enough to fall out of it. And as you said, they're probably going to win the matches against teams who are ninth place and below, which would be just enough to keep him in the job. What happened with Solskjaer? They won the games against the really shy teams and just did enough to keep him in the job. When it all went south with Mourinho, he won the games against the shy teams that did just enough to keep him in the job. Same with Van Gaal, right? So it's this eternal cycle of those managers doing just enough to stay in the job, but never enough to get back to where the fans' expectations are, where the media pundits' expectations are. A club that from the Glazers' point of view is they don't need to win. They need to be in the Champions League. They need to generate the revenue from the Champions League to take the dividends they want out of the club, right? And that's what it is, to service the debt and to get it out. So they don't need, from the Glazers' point of view, they don't need to win. From FSG's point of view, and this is the truth, they don't need Liverpool to win. From their point of view, once Liverpool is self-sustaining and getting into the Champions League, Liverpool can spend what they want once it's within the budget that's set there. And the Glazers are doing the exact same thing with United. And it's not great for fans, but they're not interested necessarily in championships and winning. They're interested in the model being self-sustaining and creating the funding that they need to create off the back end of it. So, that's from there. United are caught in this cycle, and I'm delighted that the fake sheikh hasn't signed the club, that hasn't bought the club, that your man from the Ineos.
The Glazers are on a complete wind because the talk is now they're going to pull the club off the market because they want 10 billion.
Well, I think Jim Ratcliffe, they were expecting him to come up and match whatever the fake sheikh's pretend bid was, right? And he was just like, no, that's what the club is worth. That's what I'm willing to pay. And then he just walked away, right? Do you know he's a United fan? And I'm actually delighted he didn't get it, because he's the type of owner that could really pump an awful lot of money into it to take them back to where he wants to be, because he'd be obviously clearly passionate about putting the money into it in terms of what it is.
And would probably put a structure in place to be successful.
Exactly. So when I look at this, when you say to me, yes, from our perspective as to what we expected from that club over for such a long period of time, he is nowhere near what should be the captain of the team. But ultimately, he's exactly what is the captain of the team. He's the perfect representation of who they are, both on and off the pitch at this moment in time. And fantastic. Long may he continue as captain, and long may they continue in the current strives and situations.
Yeah, look, I'm not upset about it. When I was watching it yesterday, I was like, I cannot wrap my head around the fact that he's the captain of Manchester United. But having said that, you make a good point. he's the perfect face of what is going on at that club, and that's fair. Right, you're up. Why do you want to go first?
Mine is a winoozer, right? So
Right.
I flipped this in the head. What did I say today? I said, right, so my winners of the week was Manchester United, Newcastle, Chelsea, right?
Oh,
And my
lost
losers,
the weekend.
yeah, and my losers of the week are Liverpool, Tottenham
Spurs and
Hotspur, Arsenal, and West Ham and Brighton, right?
Okay, right.
So
So anyone that's won this weekend is a loser, and anyone that's lost this weekend is a winner.
yeah, and it's not because of what they've done or what's happened on the pitch.
Right.
It's because of this ridiculously, stupendously stupid international break that they've thrown in. We're on a run of form and building up a head of steam, right? And this is where I'm getting to with this one. It's the same.
I'm with you. Okay,
the same with Spurs, the same with West Ham, the same with Arsenal, right? Like Arsenal have just come off an incredibly hard-fought win to get that one of the last minute. Look at that momentum. Imagine they were taking it into next week in terms of what they want to do. Look how we reacted from our coming back with 2 goals at the end of the game to going into the Aston Villa game and probably putting on the best performance I've seen us putting on the best part of 2 years in terms of how we played and how we just completely dominated Aston Villa.
You're amongst a group of people that have said that best home performance they've probably seen in the league in 2 years.
It just had that vibe that when we were in full flow, right? We had you look at everything. That the momentum that we're putting in. Look at what Postecoglou's done with Spurs and how he has them playing and how well they're playing and that run of form that they're in. Like there's more teams on 10 plus points than has been at any stage of the Premier League at this point.
5, I think.
Yeah, it's never happened before, right? So you have these teams who have this immense momentum, and momentum is a fallacy, but it's not from a player's perspective. You're going in and you're starting to feel unbeatable. You're starting to feel like the wheels here rolling. We get out there, can't wait for the next game, can't wait for the next game. What happens? No game for 2 weeks. No game for 2 weekends. You go home and you go off to meet up with these random fellas from different things that you might have grown up with to play in a competition.
They're not really random. They are international teammates.
Well, like you've got
if you were to judge on the amount of time you see them, they're random.
Yeah, right. So that's from my point of view, random, right? So
I'd love that. I'd love if they picked the squad right and it was just complete randomers turned up. I'd watch international football if they done that.
Okay, but you won't, Gav, because what's going to happen is they're going to go off.
I won't watch any of it.
They're going to play. They're going to play games that nobody's any interest in, right? They're going off on a break that lads can pick up knocks and get injured and stuff like that because they have mad training stuff that's going on. They won't be seen for the best part of 10 days back in their own clubs. They'll come back wrecked from all over the world where they've been. You're looking at teams now that are literally going off to play at championship or worse levels. Maybe it might as well be League of Ireland level of football at this international thing, is because it's getting so bad. It's just absolutely, it's a stocking of manure that you're going off. And people don't want to watch it, but FIFA want to stick on a World Cup every 7 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Nobody wants to go there. And so that's why I said the winners of the week are actually the likes of Manchester United, the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Chelsea.
Yeah, you get a bit of respite.
Nobody's going to be talking about the fact that Chelsea spent over £1 billion in the last 11 months, right?
Pochettino described that as normal nowadays.
Yeah, it is very normal. Very normal if you're owned by Saudi Arabia. But like they've gone off, they've done this, and they haven't won a game since 1963, right? Like they haven't. They don't even know how to win it. They have Enzo Ferrari playing for them, and he's like he's muck, right? Yeah. He's more Enzo Fate than he is Enzo Ferrari. Right? He's brutal.
Lola Ferrari.
Lola Ferrari. Yeah, from Euro whatever it was. Euro trash back in the day. You've got United. We've just talked about them there, right? What's the best thing for those players? Nobody be paying attention to it. Nobody be talking about the fact that they could have won the game and instead they blew it. It's the complete opposite to what Ferguson was and Fergie time and all that type of stuff. Instead, they were subject to being battered in the last few minutes. And then you look at Newcastle. Like, if I'm Eddie Howe now, I am avoiding the Saudi Arabian embassy for the next 2 weeks because I'm not going anywhere near that building because I'm not coming back over, right? Like, and you look at it, right? This is a team that there was some mad people out there were tipping them to go to be up challenging for the league this year. Like, somebody's been saying that they've had a great start to the league. How have they had a great start to the league? They're challenging Everton for biggest flop so far of the season. Like, honestly, this is a team you can't even blame Champions. You can't blame Champions League football.
Stuart Pearce reckons Newcastle will still win the league. Just to let you know.
Okay. Fair play, Stuart. But then Stuart Pearce was a fantastic manager, and he won so much as a footballer. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, it may as well be getting Danny Murphy to give you an opinion on football. But I look at it and go, these lads are having a fantastic time. What do I want when I'm in that run of form? When I can't get a point to save my life, I want the football to stop. I want to go away so we don't have to think about it. And hopefully, some of those teams that we're playing against are like, will get injuries, so we have an opportunity to do it. The Saudi Arabian lads at Chelsea and Newcastle will be able to sign as many players as they want off the other teams to try weaken them, or just try upset the harmony that's in the squad until Thursday. So, like, from my point of view, Gav, this is. I like at some stage. I look at somebody's mentioned there, Gravenberch saying, "I'm not going to play for the under-21s for Holland because I don't want to." Right? What's going to happen is players will ultimately decide, I'm not playing international football or these games in the international football calendar because I don't need to. I just don't need to anymore. We play so many. Look at what your man.
What way did he sit at the minute? I think they do one in September. I think they do one in November then, and then they do one in March. Isn't that right? There's 3 kind of breaks, 2 weeks at a time. 2 weeks at a time. Right?
I said the only way make international football relevant is scrap all the international breaks, and you have all the international football in June at the end of the season, like it's a World Cup, right? In June into the middle of July, you play all the
which
games
would still allow your clubs to probably pick 2 1-week periods where they can say, right, we're splitting our winter break over 2.
Yep.
Right, we're going to do a bit in November here and a little bit in January, and that gives you a rest for the rest of the season and 4 international games at the end of the season. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think what annoys me is that qualifiers for the World Cup or qualifiers for the Euro, I'm okay with that, right? But when you look at the amount of groups there is now and the amount of teams that are in these, like, I remember years ago, you'd have 7 teams in the group, right? You'd probably have to play 10 to 12 games to qualify, and they were played and that was grand. But now, September, November, and March during the season says, yeah, that's what I thought it was. But now there's so many teams going and so many teams can qualify that you're ending up with groups of 5. So you're only playing fucking 8 games, right? So why don't you just go, listen, we're not doing one in September. We'll do one in November, which is, I think, is okay, because that's 4 months, August, September, 4 months into a season. We're going to do 2 games there, okay? We're going to do 2 games in March, okay? And then, like you said, you finish at the end of May. They do the second week in June till the fourth week in July. 3 weeks, you're playing 4 games. And that's 21 days, right?
Yep.
And you're going to play 4. So it's a game every 5 days, right? And you're going to play them 4 games. And by the second week in July, you have a month off. You have a month off then. And we don't have to worry about international football. And I'm with you because, like, this is meant to be, like, and someone said there it's Europe and South America only. But let's be honest about it. Like, the vast majority of players in the Premier League are European or South American. Do you know what I mean? There is obviously, there's some from there might be North America, there might be some from Australia, there might be some from Asia, but the vast majority are European or South American. And the second thing that annoys me is you get a team that will go in and go, oh, we've won qualifier here on Wednesday, and then we're playing Oman on Saturday then. Do you know, just because there's 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no reason why you can't turn around and go, right, listen, by the way, the Premier League finishes up on the Sunday. First international games on Thursday. Second one is on Tuesday, and everyone's back by Wednesday. And we go again the Premier League Saturday. But if they spread it out all weird, there's games that don't matter. And because of the amount of groups and the reduced amount of teams in groups, I can't see why they can't just go 2, 4 there, done, end of story. But now they've mixed everything up with all these fucking European League or whatever. I don't even know what they call it anymore. And I'm with you. I think it's... I'm surprised the clubs actually fucking put up with it now, to be honest with you, Phil.
I'm amazed. Again, it's this idea that FIFA and UEFA still hold power, right? I think ultimately, at some point, the clubs need the European Super League was so close, but again, there was money involved to keep some of the clubs back in, and they were sold a pup basically. Wait till you see the absolute hack of what the Champions League is next year, right?
Well, it's a Super League, just rebranded. I'm sorry,
The Swiss
Emma
model.
Kavanagh.
No, it's the Swiss model.
Emma Cavan says, don't forget the Africans, but they have the AFCON. But look, that's even more ridiculous. And Emma Kavanagh says it, Olivier says it as well. They just decide they're hosting a tournament in January. And you're like, what the fuck? Oh, it's too warm in the summer. Do you know what I mean? Well, just play it in a part of Africa that's not too warm in the summer. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like us going, listen, we're going off to Russia. We're playing the World Cup in January in Russia. Well, no, you can't. It's too fucking cold. Oh, no,
To be fair, if you did try to play the World Cup in Russia at the moment, there wouldn't be many teams turning up.
No, but, all right, fair enough. But it'd be, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how close we're up. I really don't feel.
No, I keep going back to it, right? International football is dead, right? All this is just FIFA's method of trying to retain some level of control over the FAs and giving the FAs some type of cash cow that they can utilise to ensure their own existence. Think about it. The top leagues in the world don't need a football association. The Premier League runs itself. It just nods its head to the FA. The Bundesliga nods its head to the whatever Deutsche Fußballbund. The La Liga is its own entity away from the Spanish Football Federation. Do you know what I mean? Like, these leagues exist, and you can bin off the federations and still have the leagues. The leagues ain't going anywhere. Like, what are the federations going to do? We're going to set up a rival league. Yeah, fair play. Who's going to play in it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you turned around as a league and said, right, listen, we don't want these international breaks, but what we're going to do is we're going to start in the first weekend in August, okay, and we're going to be finished by the second weekend in May, which is absolutely doable, right? Or the first, it's actually doable to do it by the last weekend in April, really, because if you take out September and November and March, that's 6 weeks of the season. 6 weeks of the season where you can't play domestic football, right? So you could literally turn around and go, listen, we're all going to start on the first Saturday in August. We're going to finish on the last Saturday in April. Our leagues will be done. If you want to do something from the middle of May to the middle of June, that's absolutely fine. Go ahead, all right? And people say World Cups are on, but you'd have been done the year before to qualify for it anyway. And then players are finished by the middle of June. They're fucking finished. And if they're playing the World Cup, when they get to April, right, they literally have 6 weeks off before the World Cup. So there's none of this exhaustion. There's none of this. They're absolutely fine. But I'd get rid of it. I'd just get rid of it and go, listen, there's 4 weeks at the end of the season. We're going to work with you to a certain extent. There's 4 weeks. Take it or leave it, because we're not putting up with this anymore.
I've been on this show before. I'd make international football under 25 only, right? And I'd scrap federations and FIFA and UEFA, like, straight up, right? I'd keep, like, clearly there's a desire for national teams to play each other with something that's interesting, but the way it exists at the moment, just it's completely irrelevant. Like, honestly, I'd rather see a young national talent that's coming through, given a stage to break through, because it's hard to break through at the top clubs as a young player. I know you're going to talk about somebody who's trying to make a breakthrough at the moment, but let's be honest about it. It's really bloody hard. Look at all the teams that have had phenomenal under 21 teams, but because those players don't come through en masse, they don't become phenomenal national teams. Those players get lost in the great unwashed that's just football, right? Because there's only so many teams, there's only so many places in those squads, and you can only put 11 players on the pitch at the end of every single week. And if let's say you've got the top 20 clubs in Europe, they're the ones TV's focused on. They're the ones that the Champions League is focused on. They're the ones you see on the television, right? That's who people want to see. So if you have a tournament and you cap international football, let's say, now I'm getting into my big how to rearrange the world football into a great idea, but you make it an under 25, you're allowed to have maybe 3 players that are over 25 for the purpose of these tournaments.
Olympic style.
Yeah, for the tournament, but for tournament purposes, they're not allowed in the qualifiers. The qualifiers and everything up to that is under 25, right? So if you want the Mo Salah, if you want the Messi, if you want, I don't know who's over 25 at the moment, but you know what I mean? Virgil van Dijk, if you want them in the tournaments because that brings the eyes to the tournament, brilliant, all for it, right? But for the qualifying piece to become this window for talent again, because that's what international football was. We've done this on the other podcast. Why the World Cup was brilliant up to 1998 was because football was local. Football's not local anymore. Football's global. All the domestic leagues are international leagues, right? They're not local leagues. It used to be the best of each country playing against each other in the tournament, and that's what made the World Cup special, and that's what made them different. Now it's just a really crappy version of the Champions League. Let's be honest about it. It's a crappy version of the Champions League because you don't have these teams that are able to pull together their best players, and you have these elite teams with everything else. So you're hoping that one or two teams has an elite level of players across all the clubs in Europe to give you something of substance with a manager that can bring them through it, and that very rarely happens.
I think you see, one of the biggest things for me is that I think there's too much international football, right? And what I mean by that is that we're going into this international break now. Ireland will play twice. I think England will play twice, right? And it's all broken up where, like, I can't even remember Ireland's last result, right? I think they're playing France. They might be away to France this week or next week or whatever. But it actually it gets lost. You see, I've no problem with the Euros. I've no problem with the World Cup. I have got issues with the African nations, right? Because they're literally playing this tournament in the middle of literally every
January.
major league in the world, right? And okay, they have their reasons, and it's gone on for so long, fine, right? Copa America does the summer and stuff like that. I've no problem with them tournaments, and most of them match up. You know, Copa America is time they play at the time of Euros, or they might be a year apart. The World Cup comes. But all I'm saying is, if you actually focused, you're talking about 25, right? If you focused it and said, look, we're going to just do one break here, and then at the end of the season, you're going to play 4 weeks of your qualifiers. What happens is then, it nearly turns into a mini tournament itself, which keeps people going while domestic football isn't going. And then the domestic season starts and people go, do you know what? By the end of April, there'll be no talk of players being exhausted. There'll be no, oh, he has an injury, will he make it? Well, he fucking course he'll make it. He's 6 weeks till the World Cup starts. And players go into that World Cup then in top form, refreshed. You've played it all. But it's all this fucking UEFA league stuff that they just make up on top of it then. Oh, we're in the final of the UEFA league. I don't even know what it's called. And you're like, oh, England are in the final of that. They're not in the final of it. They're just fucking playing a load of games. They're just ranking them and going, you're in the semis. It's just constant all the time. And if they focused it a bit better, you could actually end up with a league season that was shortened but easier to manage. And you'd end up with a summer or part of each summer where you'd either have a World Cup, right? Then you'd have qualifiers, Euros, qualifiers, but you're getting 4 weeks of international football. And every summer, it feels like you can watch it and you can be invested in it. But right now, it just feels like, oh, this fucking thing for 2 weeks. For teams that are winning, like you said, for teams that are losing, you're like, thank fuck that's on, because now, you know, I can get out of the spotlight for 2 weeks. I think it's all over the shop.
Yeah, it's just, and to have it this early in the season when seasons have just kicked back off, it's like, honest to God, nobody wants it. At some point, the crushing realization that nobody wants it comes to pay in television terms, because those rights should be put out there. And if it doesn't get an audience, nobody wants to buy the rights. And that's the reality, Gav. The only thing that's going to impact this is numbers on a page. And at this point in time, like, who actually wants the rights to international football? I'd be amazed. Maybe Sky, because they're losing the rights to everything else, so they'll probably take it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like but nobody be watching it. Like, I don't know anyone who'd want to pay for money. Pay for money. I don't understand. I don't think I know anyone who would pay money to any subscription to watch international football.
No way.
Does that make sense?
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yep.
And it never work anyway, because you have to remember, this is like, the Premier League is a certain brand, okay? And the world watches it. And the world watches the World Cup. But the world watches the World Cup because, if you go back to what you said a few minutes ago, everyone watched the World Cup, A, for the brilliant players from around the world, but B, you'll always come across somebody that is going, never fucking heard of him, what a goal, what a save, whatever. You know what I mean? And people will pay for the Premier League, the League of Troy, but they're not paying for international football. They simply aren't. And I think the reason they don't is because they nearly forget it's on. Because they just keep dropping it in here, and people go, I'm not watching that show. I'll just wait till Liverpool come back, or United come back, or Arsenal or Chelsea. And then when it comes around to the summer, it's like, let's run this Premier League right to this date, and then 2 weeks' time, they're in camp, and 2 weeks after that, they're playing. You can easily do it, where you can actually make it a lot easier for winter breaks. You can make it a lot easier for the Premier League to manage, and every other division, to manage their own season, and still be able to say to the international side of things, we're still putting one break in the season, and we're definitely doing the 4 weeks at the end. And and simply because of the amount of teams out there that are going into this, and the amount that can qualify, the group sizes become smaller, which makes it more manageable to play the games. But listen, it probably doesn't make them enough money. So,
well, me and Steve are trying to figure out what we're going to watch on Saturday after we do all these events, because like the Rugby World Cup is on.
When does that
start? Friday.
Friday, okay.
Or Thursday.
This is
it's in France.
Where Ireland turn up and get beaten in the quarterfinal, isn't it?
Yeah. There was just like you could skip all that stuff and watch the quarterfinal and just watch what happens and see what goes on. So there's that, and then but the NFL's back this week. That's like, for me, that's my heaven is back. So it's like Sunday evenings are sorted. Red Zone will be on from 6 o'clock. Just goes right the way through. Perfect format. You know what you're getting year in, year out. There's competitiveness right the way through the league, and you've got all these billionaires who run the league and don't let anybody else into it. There'll be no Saudis or nothing going into it. So like the NFL is back, bang on. We're all in. Jerry Jones is back, is still there, and he's having a great time. And the Glazers are running, the Buccaneers are in bits. Like, their stadium isn't falling apart, but their team is falling apart. So it's great. And there's lots of, everyone hopes and can win.
I think there's plenty of NFL fans in this chat as well. Bertie says their NFL is back, so he's definitely
NFL is back, baby. It's a special weekend.
NFL is back, so go Giants. As I always say every year.
I was watching the college ball at the weekend.
I think they're getting better, the Giants.
I was a very happy man. The college football was on the weekend, and it was just this is phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. I loved it.
The college football is off the charts, mad, isn't it?
Yeah, remember we were doing the watch-alongs last year. It was great. There was some amazing games this weekend.
But the thing about the college ones as opposed to the NFL games are great. Like, don't get me wrong, but just the most bizarre stuff happens in that college stuff. Like, I remember, and I know we're going off point, and we get to my winner in a minute. But I remember you telling me, watch this game. You know, I used to say to you, what games I watch, and you put me onto one game one night, and we watched it. And one team, I want to say they were like two teams that nearly had the same name, but they were playing against each other.
Could it have been was it Michigan and Michigan State?
It could have been something like that, right? But basically, one team were battering the other team, and we're like, no point watching this either. The other team came back, right, and got ahead, and then the team that were winning handy in the first half had a kick at the end to draw, and your man actually kicked it, and it went up, and you know the flag on the top of the post? It hit the fucking flag and went wide. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God. And then everyone just rushed on the pitch now. But the college ball is just off the charts mental.
Dylan O'Rourke says Phil must be a Colorado fan. No, but I'm a Bears fan, but he's talking about in the college game. So Colorado was taken over by, I won't get into a long thing, but Deion Sanders, who's prime time, right? So he's now the new head coach of Colorado. He basically told everyone that had a scholarship they were cut. You know, that famous Homer Simpson scene in The Simpsons. He told them all. First day, it's on YouTube. You can go and look at it after this. But he was telling everyone in his first meeting, yous aren't all good. None of you are good enough, and you're all getting cut because I'm bringing in my own team. And he went out and he signed 40 lads out of the transfer portal in the college game, because there is a transfer portal in the college game as well, right? So all the ITKs could have a great crack with this, because there's thousands of players that any college can sign, right? And they were expected to go maybe 2-9 or 3-7 for the whole season in terms of what it was. They went out their first match against the finalists in the playoff last year, the college football final playoff, and bet them 45-42. And his son is quarterback, and he threw for a college his own Colorado's college record of over 520 yards. Incredible stuff. Scenes all over the shop.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a mad game. It's a mad game.
I won't even talk about Urban Meyer being caught just off camera having a chat to somebody that he shouldn't have been having a chat to while the lads were sitting there.
O'Shane says couldn't care about it. Sorry guys. O'Shane's doing his impression of who was
Shane talking about rugby.
No, there was a lad last night that we were having great crack with. I hope he comes back. Colin. But I hope Colin's in the chat or watching. Colin, we were only messing with you genuinely, and I hope you took it as a bit of crack. On my winner, Evan Ferguson. He's at Brighton, And the talk is that Brighton are going to look for an amazing amount of money if he's to leave. There'll be knock-on effects to that to a couple of clubs in Ireland as well, because they have to sell on deals for schoolboy stuff and the League of Ireland team he was with as well. So, but he gets a hat-trick against Newcastle the weekend, and I know we are banging on about international football there, but he feels to me like no matter who you support, you want to see where this fella goes. He's kind of grabbed me like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see fellas and you kind of go, he's good, yeah, no, he'll get a game for Ireland and he's good, and you kind of go, oh yeah, fair enough and all. This fella, Phil, just his age, where he plays, he's in the Premier League, he's 18, he's scoring hat-tricks. I'm just so excited by him. I think every football fan out there has to be, well, Irish fan I suppose, has to be excited by him, because he looks a real prospect, Phil. He really does.
Listen, he seems to be an incredible talent. He's still very, very young, right? So I'd preface caution as to where he goes. He seems to have all the tools to become a phenomenal footballer. Let's be honest about this, right? He has all the tools there. Yeah. He's delivering in the Premier League. He's delivering for a team that's not a top 6 team. Do you know what I mean? They're in that tier that's just below it. And I guess the real question mark is going to be, what happens when you take him out of the Brighton environment and he becomes the figurehead at a club? Because whoever signs him or whoever brings him in is going to pay a massive amount of money. And he's going to have the pressure and the eyes on him in the same way some forwards haven't been able to manage. So straight away, and it's not that his playing style is anywhere near or anything like that, right? But you think of a young centre forward who was making a breakthrough in the same way he's done, and it was Andy Carroll at Newcastle. He exploded onto the Premier League scene, right?
Wayne Rooney is another one that's in my mind as well.
And Wayne Rooney, for me, I'll say though, he never ever delivered on the talent he showed at 17, 18, right? He incredible footballer, did an awful lot, but never truly got to the levels that everyone expected him to get to, right? So I look at Jude Bellingham, when you for a comparison there, you look at Jude Bellingham, you look at what he's done. He stepped away from England. He went to Dortmund. He built his resume. He built his ability to control games. He built his ability to dominate teams, and he's gone to Real Madrid. And he has skipped that pressure pot of the Premier League where he's an English player. And can you imagine what it would be like? Like I'd say Gerrard, I've said it plenty of times in this, phenomenal Liverpool player, one of the best of all time. But he could have been even better. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could have been even better. And I would love to see Ferguson not go to another Premier League team. I'm going to tell you out straight. I'd love to see him not go to another Premier League team. I'd love to see him go to a Borussia Dortmund. I'd love to see him go somewhere as the next step in his football and education. No, it won't, but you know what I mean. Like,
I'm with you on that, because he's still so young that if he stays at Brighton for another year or two, which I don't even think he'll make another year or two, but if he's 20, there's nothing to stop him going to a Borussia Dortmund or whoever, right? But the fact of the matter is, the money that's being spoken about already is he's basically, I think he's probably putting himself on the map for half a dozen clubs in Europe. Mm-hmm. And out of that half a dozen, I would say 4, possibly 5 are English. I think Real Madrid could do it, and Bayern Munich could possibly do it. But the rest are English. The rest are the likes of Chelsea, United, Man City. You could put Liverpool in there, but Liverpool don't spend 100+ million on a player, and that's the sort of money they're talking about. But we talk about like where you'd like to see him go and stuff like that, and you're saying he has all the tools and stuff like that. My only concern is that he's really fucking good at 18. He's really good. Mm-hmm. My only concern for him is that if he does make that move to wherever it might be, by 2021 he's burnt out. And the whole weight of it, like you said, the weight of everything on him, he'd be expected to play every game. He's still a kid, you know what I mean? He's still growing, and that's my only worry for him. Like, I wouldn't say no to him at Liverpool. I don't think anyone would say no to him. But at the same time, looking without the Liverpool tinted glasses on, what's the problem with staying at Brighton for another 2 seasons or 3 seasons? He'd be 21 years of age. Now, people might say, oh, well, look, he might be in the best of form then and he mightn't get the move he wants. Well, he might get the move he wants and then not be in the form. Do you know what I mean? When you think of the person rather than the commodity, I suppose. Realistically, though, Phil, he's probably looking at, he's supposedly a Manchester United fan, but he's probably looking at a contract here that would like sell him up for life. Like literally a year's wages will sell him up for life. Is there a little bit of a worry with that? So young, especially today, because Rooney is 2004 and he's getting X amount of money, but now it's scandalous what they pay players.
See, like the only comparative when you look at him, because it's the type of striker as well, right? And if he has the talent and he has the skill and he has the ability, he'll make it, right? But like the one that jumps out at me when you look at him in terms of style of play and build and all that type of stuff, Benzema is my most obvious comparison. And that's huge. And do you know what I mean in terms of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
But he is the one that I look at.
Benzema was at Leon, wasn't he? And then
was it Leon broke through 2005, 2006, and he goes right the way through to 2022 at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So he's like, but for longevity, even Lewandowski has a longer pathway to get to the top. You know what I mean? But he goes through a number of steps to get there, from Borussia to Bayern to before Borussia. He's at whatever clubs he's at. So when you look at Ferguson, his pathway to the top is going to be a lot shorter, but to stay at the top is going to be the biggest challenge to him. And to come through so young, there's so few players that have managed to maintain that level into their late 20s, early 30s, right? Look, he's going to be Ireland's number one striker for the best part of 20 years, no matter what happens, right? So even if he only gets to 25 and his form drops off, he'll still be leading the line when he's 35 for Ireland, as we know, because the talent level is not that deep. But for him as a player, you're just so excited to see what he's going to become, and you want him to achieve that. I want to see him, even if it means that he's okay. So, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but even if he burns out at 25, 26, I want to see him explode massively wherever he goes to, right? Once it's not United or Chelsea, and ideally not Spurs either, and Arsenal won't sign him. So if it's none of them, I want him to explode at whatever club he goes to. But I don't know. There's a natural piece to me that says that, you know, teams like Bayern Munich and even Madrid, or potentially when Barcelona get taken over by the Saudi Arabians, he'll fit that type of profile for the type of player that they're going to have, because he's young, he's going to be skilled in what is a very good football and academy in Brighton, if that makes sense, in terms of top level, and he's going to get the opportunity to play in the Europa League this year, which is going to put him on a different map to what you'd expect him to be, to what he'd normally be at.
On what he's playing,
yeah, and that to me is the big difference. I just think it's like for me, it has a massive smell of Tottenham Hotspur off him at this moment in time, because they sold Harry Kane and they've got money, so it's, you know what I mean.
Maybe so, but I think that the money being spoken, and if this goes 100 million, north of 100 million, then it's into wages, because no 100 million pound players walking around on 150 grand a week. It just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? You're doubling that easy, just the way football's gone. But I wanted to give him a mention because when I seen him scoring the hat-trick at the weekend, my interest in Irish international football is very limited, because I despise the way they play football, to be quite honest with you. And now the whole Stephen Kenny thing is another argument for another day, but and I kind of admire the way he's bringing in younger players and trying to play them, and Evan Ferguson's part of that. But it would make me kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to watch this just to see him, just to see what he's like, because you're going to have to watch him in Premier League or League Cup games away, or fucking horrible games, or Europa League, wherever he's in. It's all new to him because he's so young, and I think I just think it's great to see a striker coming through, an Irish striker coming through, where people are going, this fella is 100 million plus. I think it's brilliant to see. So best of luck to him, except when he plays against Liverpool in a couple of weeks. But he just looks a serious talent. We're going to go in a few minutes. But winners and losers we haven't mentioned.
Fast fire. Fast fire.
Okay,
Fast fire.
So
180
how does this
seconds
work?
on the clock.
How does this work?
Put 180 seconds on the clock.
Oh God, I might be able to even do that. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I'll check now for you. But what way does this work? Do you just throw a winner, say it, tell us why, and we move on, and I pick one?
You go for one, I go for one, and we just go until the clock runs out, right? And see if we can cover off nearly everything else that's there.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And you're allowed to say I made a mistake about that last week. He's actually a winner this week.
Oh,
right?
Joe Gomez. Okay.
Yeah. I won't be though, but I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Right. Okay then. Go on. You go first.
Okay, first loser of the week for me is Gary Neville. I just want to re-emphasise the man's a muppet and give more money to United so they can be better again. Just he's an absolute embarrassment. How he's still on the television, he should have been removed when Martin Tyler went, and for that reason, Gary Neville was definitely close to my loser of the week if we didn't have international football.
Okay, I'm going to give a winner to the referee in Sheffield United against Everton, who sprayed a line on the ground. Sheffield United moved beyond the line. And instead of moving the back, he just sprayed another line in front of them and went, listen, stay where we are. Even though they were now 8 yards from the ball instead of 10. Ashley Young was having a breakdown. But I thought, fair play to your referee. Because that's made me really, really laugh. Go on, you can go.
I'm going for winner of the week is Sergio Ramos for turning down the Saudi Arabian money to go to his original club and play on a much reduced wage and fee just because he loves football and doesn't need to go to Saudi Arabia and make a ridiculous amount of money. Okay.
Winner for me, Joe Gomez. I'm going to say it. I thought he was excellent at the weekend. And listen, this isn't off the back. Well, it is a little bit off the back of last week, but he come on against Newcastle was really.
I didn't
really
watch.
Good. And no, I did. I seen that bit because there was a bit going around about it. But this week I thought he was absolutely excellent. Bar one slip, I thought he was absolutely excellent again. And to see him back and playing and looking physical as a centre half, Joe Gomez winner of the week.
Winners of the week for me as a person are both the Man United goalkeeper and also Everton midfielder, your man Onana, and also Jordan Pickford. Long may their goalkeeping abilities be retained, and I hope to keep it up because they are absolutely dirt. Like I've said about Pickford since he came into the league, right? And there's been a thing. He is muck, Melogen, absolutely terrible. And he's still England's number one, and I don't understand what's going on there. He's vile. He's vile as a footballer, and your man Onana is just pony, right? And I can't believe they didn't even say to the guy, look, if you pay a £5 subs, you can stay, and signed him instead. It makes no sense whatsoever. I saw somebody say it's great that he can play football. It was Keith. He said it's fantastic he can play football with his feet, but he can't play in goal. So what's the point? He looks like a fella that they just throw in when your goalkeeper gets sent off, and it's true. But thank God, keep it going. I just hope he doesn't turn up and have a great game like Taibbi did at Anfield that time. That one game that Taibbi ever had for United. But he is muck. It's like watching us when we had to sign all these absolute nobodies to play in goal for us. It's phenomenal. Keep it going, lads. Winners of the week.
Aidan has a good shout. He said loser of the week, Arsenal fans leaving early. Yeah, a lot of Arsenal fans had left early at 1-1 to try catch the train, and then they went and scored 2 more goals. I did want to mention Dominic Szoboszlai, but we did a massive thing on him last night. Just quickly, what have you made of him?
He's the best number 8 that Liverpool have had in the Premier League history.
Well, that's not true, but
it is.
It's not.
It is.
But no, seriously, what have you made of him? I think he's brilliant.
I think he's phenomenal. I genuinely think. I look at him and he knows how to play his position, and it's just. This is just. I said to Steve-O, I said enjoy him for the next 3 to 4 years because he's going to be sitting at Real Madrid very soon, and he's going to be wearing the white Madrid. He has that arrogance, and he just has that bollocks about him, which I love, and he's phenomenal.
Yeah. Have I any more? Oh yes, here's one. Jack Santini. I'm gonna rob this. Winner of the week, the young LFC fan who visited Anfield this week. There was a young lad. I think he might have been from Cavan. And if I've got this wrong and they're watching, I apologise. But I think his name was Dara. He was from Cavan. And it was his first time at Anfield. I think he might be. And I want to say he was a disabled fan, but I could be wrong. But genuinely, he's sitting at Anfield. You'll never walk alone his belt now before the game, and this child is in absolute tears. Like it's it's like he's having an out of body experience, and to watch it was unbelievable. I think it might have been it was a charity around Liverpool that done it, and I'll go mad at myself that I don't remember because I've actually watched the video about 4 times. But yeah, that lad, I think his name is Dara, and I want to say Cavan, and if that's right, he's definitely one of the winners of the week for me because it was brilliant to see.
To be fair, it's been, for us as Liverpool fans, it's been a great week. So you're just feeling happy about the whole thing. So it's like I've got loads of winners. Like you could pick Nunes for continuing following up his form from the Newcastle game and taking it in and having a great game. Although he should have scored a hat trick and he didn't score any. And that's what frustrates me about Nunes the most. Mo, that is a red. Mo's a red. Do you know what I mean? And he probably won't be by next weekend. But like at least at the moment we all believe he's a red and he wants to stay, and it's fantastic news.
Well, can I'm at to thinking of something that happened a couple of weeks ago, right? But it come up on my timeline today, and I thought it's the best thing ever. It was Roy Hodgson having the row with some player on the sideline. These couldn't really slid into him, and I was like, and Roy Hodgson trying to move towards this fella to have a go at him. That's winner of some week. It's probably not this one, but it come up on my timeline this week.
What about the fella going after Roy Keane? Like, of all the people, like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, and what's his name? What's the lad?
Mika Richards jumping in.
Yeah, like Richards looked like he was about to kill him. Like Roy Keane looked fairly cool about it.
But Gav, like, this is people who don't remember Roy Keane as a footballer, because I remember Roy Keane coming through Forest, and when he went to United initially, Roy Keane isn't afraid of anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I've only seen a small video, and it looks like Richards has him, and Keane turns and says something to him. So I don't know what's going on. You'll hear more about that.
Can I just put one that's not? They aren't footballers in football teams, but can I just say, and I cannot stand it as a network or anything, but Sky Sports and Sky Sports News, it's appalling. The whole thing, like, it's loser of the forever for me, right? It's just atrocious. They have YouTube lads on with dirty runners and everything right now these days. Like, they've gotten rid of journalists and anyone that has any intelligence or anything about them, right? It is absolutely appalling. I happened to turn to flick it on to see, is this going to be interesting on deadline day? And I was just appalled. I was actually horrified. And they're running with this mad Mo's off to Saudi Arabia. It's not even, at this stage, it's so bad, it's not even clickbait. It's like, the National Enquirer or something, where it used to be UFO spotted over a house, and eventually people just go, yeah. It's like that's that mad fella 3 doors down the road.
My favourite bit was when they were like, no, there was a phone call, and they said, look, what about 150 million? Liverpool went, no, listen, we're not selling him. He's not for sale. And he went, all right, no problem. Listen, we'll ring you back in a half an hour when another was that bid. It was like, on winning streak, when they ring you to say you got 3 stars and you don't answer. We'll ring her back in a bit just to let her know she's on next week. But anyway, before we go, we can have one more each, and here's my one. Winner of the week is Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans, right, is just wandering around, gets a short-term contract at United for the summer to cover, right, and then gets a year deal. And United fans are like, no, he'll just be in the 21s, a bit like whoever else was in the Tom Huddleston and stuff. And then all of a sudden he just comes on for the last 15 away at Arsenal, 4 games into the season. It's 100% Johnny Evans is the winner of the week, by the way, 100%.
I just want to say Johnny Evans is obviously the English version of the Alvaro Morata money laundering scam. Like, I thought the fella retired years ago, right?
He came on yesterday for his first game for Manchester United in 7 years. It was 7 years since he played his last game. It's absolutely phenomenal gear. MC says, yes, I seen that, Phil. The chap was wearing dirty Air Max. This is obviously the fella on Sky, whoever that was.
Okay, so my last winner of the week, and it's a way to wrap it, is the LFC Daytrippers.
Okay.
People might know in the YouTube chat, but the podcast slash YouTube channel is 10 years old tomorrow morning. I released the very first LFC Daytrippers podcast on Tuesday, the 3rd of September, 2013. Right? Here we are 10 years later,
and
still talking rubbish.
Is it Tuesday? No, what's it tomorrow?
Tomorrow's the 5th. Tomorrow's the 5th of September, right? But I just, in terms of, we recorded on the Monday, released on the Tuesday. It was a long time before saturation of everyone's podcast and everything like that. I can go into it a whole lot. But yes, for me, this is the last win of the week to go be still going 10 years later. And I know I'm nowhere near what it was at that time and everything. But yes, for me, we've got Martin Kelly, Martin Skrtel. We had so much brilliance to talk about. Now looking back, we're talking about Zabozolai, McAllister, Gravenberch. You've got the Mo Salah and stuff like that. If I dare anyone to go back to listen to the first podcast, the sound quality is not great, but yeah, very different war back then. We're talking about how Martin. I think my very first statement on a podcast at this stage was that I believe that Martin Kelly would end up as good as Paolo Maldini, and I started calling him Martin Maldini.
My God. Do you know? So we're gonna do a show next week around this, aren't we? Around the anniversary.
Owen Burke, do you remember bringing the Trippers on tour to Waterford? I do. I was there. I was on stage that night, and by the time we played against Newcastle, it was Jordan the Balotelli, Brendan Rodgers area, and yeah, I was very drunk by the time we got to the second half of that podcast.
Yeah, I think Trev might have been there. And Neilo, was he?
Yeah, Neil was there, and Dave Thomas, and me and Trev. Yeah.
But look, it's we're going to do something next week. Me and Phil have decided we're going to do something next week with regards to this, where we're going to do winners and losers, but we're going to do winners and losers of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So you can fill your boots. It's going to be,
could be, and it's open season. Podcast guests, people, anything, right?
Yeah. So we're going to try to get a few people on that have been on the podcast over the last 10 years. They're going to pop on for 5 minutes to chat around. They might give us their winners and losers of the last 10 years. Me and Phil will discuss it with them. They'll hop off. We'll take stuff from the chat. We'll bring someone else on, and we'll probably do an hour and a half. Let's be honest, we'll probably do an hour and a half. But it's 10 years. It's a massive milestone. In fairness, 10 years. When you think back how far it was and where Liverpool were at the time, so we couldn't let it go without marking it in some way. So next Monday, 10 p.m. Bring cans. Bring all your memories.
Me and bits.
And bring a lawyer probably as well. And we'll help us. And,
you might want to put a 30-second delay on.
Yeah, fucking an hour and a half delay. But we're going to chat around the last 10 years of the podcast, of the winners and losers of the last 10 years, wherever that might be. So God knows what's going to come up. All right, we're going to try our best not to be up in court the following day for whatever reason. And listen, whoever turns up to be on it, we'll come on, have a chat, and head off, and me and Phil will continue on until probably about 11:30. So Monday cans next Monday. So there you go. Anything else before we go, Phil?
Nope. I'm off up mountains at the weekend, so hopefully I'm still alive on Monday to do it, so it'll be all good.
MC says, Gav, a proper 3-hour stream. Listen, if it goes 3 hours, I'm not releasing it as a podcast. Like, I'm just not. We have to start it to 90 minutes. Right? So what we get in that 90 minutes is great, but when the 90 minutes is up, it's up. And then we're out of here. Is the Welsh lad coming to join us? Paul, I think, was his name.
That's like a combination of two different people. No, Dave Thomas was the Welsh lad, and Paul Brennan is the fella you're thinking about. Paul Brennan won't come on, right? No. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Dave Thomas, I'll have a chat with.
Yeah. Midnight Hawker says it's criminal how this gaff hasn't got 100,000 subs. Don't worry about it, Midnight Hawker. We're not right. Let's be honest. Yeah. So the MC says some people will be on next week that I never even knew were part of the Trippers.
Brian O'Halloran, bang on that money. Just here chirping at the boards, a la Big Brother back in the noughties. You know what I mean? Remember the live sound.
Get some voice over. And Bertie says, just don't mention Leeds, Gav, it still hurts. Yeah, we have a little syndicate going where we all throw in a few quid every week, and we were a Leeds goal away from nearly $4,000 at the weekend. I'm not going to tell you who done the bet, but it was one of the lads that was doing quite well over the last few weeks. Let's, lads, do a quick half hour on Everton before our bed, please. Will you? I'm not doing a half an hour on Everton. But I am trying to get Dave Downey on to talk about Everton, because even though he's an Everton fan, he's absolutely bang on, Dave is, and very, very honest when it comes to Everton. Go and listen to the Blue Room podcast and you'll know about it. But Brenzy won't be on next week, right? Don't ask me all week. He won't be on. People go, was Brenzy on? No, he won't. And the best story of all time ever about Brenzy is the time he made up the story about Gillan Ballaghay and the Pralian M&Ms. It is by far and away the best thing I've ever read. It was sensational. The only other one is about Mario Balotelli and the Panda.
And the Panda.
But I don't know if we go there. Anyway, that has been it. That has been Winners and Losers. Thanks to Phil. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Put in your diaries, 10 o'clock next Monday. It's going to be stupid. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.